And hello, welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough as well as across New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss how one organization is providing direct cash assistance to young people that are aging out of foster care. Then, we'll introduce you to a foundation that's working to eliminate educational barriers for low-income Black and brown students. We'll tell you more about that a little later on in the show. Plus, we'll discuss the importance of workplace well-being for organizations as well as employees. And after that, we're going to speak with a lifestyle expert about what you should be looking for to bring with you on your next vacation. You don't want to miss this. And then finally, we'll talk with the chef about how he's able to feed the community through his community feast events. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren, Jaime, and you are now watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, some things have been going on throughout the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. Well, we begin with community news. The New York Psychotherapy and Counseling Center held a training session in the attempt to prevent gang violence as well as membership among Latin youth. Our BronxNet reporter, Kibben Aline, has a story.
With a mission to prevent Latin youth from falling victim to gang culture, the New York Psychotherapy and Counseling Center held a training for school clinicians.
They're coming to build their skill base and understanding of how they can extend, evolve, change their prevention and intervention strategies with the youth and families they're working with.
We want to be able to build capacity for school social workers to decrease risks of joining gangs, but increase preventive factors.
According to NYPCC, gang members contribute to a large portion of overall violence in society, and young gang membership is prevalent in the U.S. Here in the Bronx, Latinos are amongst those who are most vulnerable.
A lot of our population are from the Hispanic and Latino population, our students. And it's always important from a mental health point of view to look at the cultural lens. Where the cultural background, how important the family is, and the values of the culture, so that mental health services are not just a cookie-cutter approach.
With challenges of language barriers and cultural differences, social and mental health professionals believe the school environment could determine who ends up in a gang.
School is the place where kids experience the most relationships, the most peer relationships, right? Where they begin to form the sense of who they are in the world, what they're capable of, and in particular, how other people see them. So there's so much that happens in that school environment that ultimately impacts how a child sees themselves and the opportunities that they have.
The training touched on societal issues like internalized racism and implicit bias. However, the ultimate goal of this session was to equip these social workers with the tools and resources needed to protect vulnerable youth. To learn more about this effort and the resources available, visit nypcc.org. Reporting for BronxNet, Kibben Aline.
And thank you, Kibben. We will stay on the community front. In other news, the Bronx Borough President's Office hosted a college fair at Lehman College. Our BronxNet reporter, Kyrie Moody, has more details.
The office of the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa L. Gibson, hosted their first college fair at Lehman College. They had close to 500 community members RSVP for this event. Nellie Alvarez is a high school junior who will be the first in her family to attend college.
What inspired me was my parents, sacrificed so much for me and my siblings that I want to prove to everyone that you do not have to wait for someone else to tell you, hey, you can do this, that you could do it yourself.
This college fair provided so much information on financial aid, scholarships, and other necessary information for college students. Director of Admissions at Lehman College, Lori Austin, gives us insight of the fair.
The Bronx has so many wonderful colleges to offer undergrad programs, graduate programs, continuing education programs. There's such an array of majors and opportunities for people in the community that we just wanted to bring everyone together and bring the community in to see what we have to offer.
Deputy Bronx Borough President Janet Peguero joined the fair as a representative for education continuation here in the Bronx.
It's a college town, and many of the folks in our own borough don't know that we're one of the largest college towns in the city of New York. And what's important about this college fair? What's important is that we have Bronx-based institutions for our Bronx-based students. Many of our students, due to transit deserts or inequities, are unable to travel to Manhattan, to Brooklyn for college fairs, and so we're bringing it right here to the borough of the Bronx.
The Oyate Group has a scholarship program named after the late Brandon Hendricks, who was a student that lost his life due to gun violence.
Brandon Hendricks, he was actually a participant of mine back when I was the director of the community center, so I knew him personally. His life was cut short because of senseless gun violence. So in his honor, I launched the Brandon Hendricks Scholarship so we can continue to inspire the young people.
What a powerful and effective college fair. And for it to be the Bronx Borough President's first college fair, what a way to start. For BronxNet, this is Kyrie Moody.
Thank you, Carrie. And that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We'll take a quick break. We'll have more open when we return.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
In the past several years, guaranteed income programs offering cash assistance to people has sprung up across the country. New Yorkers for Children has provided direct cash assistance to young people aging out of foster care and enrolled in college for over a decade. And student success outcomes have been remarkable. Here now to share more details, we've got the Executive Director of New Yorkers for Children, Alan Yu. And Alan, glad to have you with us, and thanks for sharing.
Hi, Daren. Thank you so much for having me today.
Glad to have you, and glad to talk about this. And so as we look at those who are aging out of the foster care system, there are certain challenges that come with that. And so for our viewers, can you make us more aware as to what are some of the potential challenges for those who are aging out of foster care?
So youth that are aging out of foster care have unique challenges. They do not have the same support networks and social safety nets as those of their peers. And so what we see is that even minor financial setbacks can be deeply disruptive to their careers and to their pursuit of higher education. And so, in addition to the financial barriers that they face, they also have unique academic challenges. They face increased mental health pressures, and these are all contributing factors to barriers as they're aging out.
And when we talk about these barriers, your agency does a great job of really dealing and trying to navigate people who've experienced the barriers. What programs do you have in place to help with that?
So we are in a unique position of being in a hybrid role, both as a direct service provider and an intermediary. So on the intermediary side, we operate as the thought leader in the city's child welfare space, bringing together local partners to create a supportive ecosystem of services, for example, through our post-permanency support program, which creates stability for adoptive and kin gap families, and is implemented through 3 other local organizations. In addition, on the other side, we have our direct service programs such as NIC Scholars, the Emergency Grants Program, or Back to School program. And these programs provide financial and material support and wraparound services, including mental health counseling, academic coaching, peer mentoring, to really support youth aging out of foster care.
You talk about cash assistance being available for those who are coming out of foster care, direct cash assistance. Why is it so important to have direct cash assistance for them?
So, given the lack of social safety nets and the uh, the the potential of these small financial setbacks to derail youth in their academic and professional careers, we find that direct cash assistance is the best way to address these financial setbacks so that they do not derail their pursuit of their careers in higher education. And so, giving youth agency by providing them with cash to decide how to best allocate their resources depending on their specific needs, whether it's housing or paying an overdue medical bill, or paying for just basic necessities like food, is really critical to supporting them in their journey.
You talked about autonomy, and basically, when you do have this cash assistance, what you're saying is, listen, you take the money and you do with it what you want to do. So a lot of people may say, and critics say, this may not be such a good thing, but why are you in favor of autonomy for your recipients?
So we really believe that respect is a key component in dealing with individuals who have experienced multiple overlapping traumas, both on the individual and systemic levels. And in our own findings and in other guaranteed basic income programs across the country, there has been great success in the utilization of these funds to meet basic needs, and it is very rare that there are instances where the programs are abused. So we see that many of the fears that critics have about these programs are really unfounded.
Yeah. Alan, share with us, as we know right now, we're just getting back to some sense of what we used to do. It's still a far way away, but COVID has tremendously impacted our lives in a way that we will be talking about for some time. But when we look at the youth and those who are aging out of the foster care system, how has COVID really impacted them and also the work that you do? Because when we talk about 2-3 years, you're aging out, and 2 or 3 years, doors are closed.
Yeah, so the transitions are already difficult for any youth in the college system, but particularly over the course of the pandemic, what we've seen from the fundamental shift in the educational delivery model from in-person to remote to hybrid back to in-person. These are challenging ways for youth to navigate receiving their education. And what we see with our foster youth is that these already precarious transitions are exacerbated by the mental health crisis that arose during the pandemic and from being isolated from their peers, again, not having adequate networks and safety nets. And so we see that extra support is really needed to help this population.
Yeah. Alan, before we leave, I want to have an opportunity for you to share a little bit about the work that goes on for New Yorkers for Children, people who may not be so familiar with your organization. Can you just give us a little brief insight?
Yeah, so our organization was founded in 1996, and we work to improve the well being of youth and families connected to the child welfare system with a specific focus on youth aging out of foster care. And we do this in a hybrid model, both as a provider of direct services through our programs like direct cash assistance, qualified counseling, peer mentoring, career development, academic coaching, and other supportive wraparound services. And the other side of what we do is act as an intermediary to fund innovative programs throughout the city through our subgrantees.
Well, Alan, I want to thank you so much for joining us and the work that's being done. Of course, it's something we'll continue to follow with this direct cash assistance and all the work that's going on, particularly for New Yorkers for Children. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Daren.
All righty. Well, we want our viewers to know for more information, you can visit their website at newyorkersforchildren.org and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at New Yorkers for Children. We say don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this.
We all know what it's like to feel alone. But it just takes one new connection. Want to get out of here? To empower many.
This is unbelievable.
It doesn't take a superhero to bring forces together. We all have the power to reach out.
Let's go!
And help someone feel like they belong.
Pretty cool, huh?
We are stronger together.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
And welcome back. The Kaplan Educational Foundation eliminates barriers to post-secondary education for historically underrepresented low-income Black and Latinx students of exceptional academic merit attending community colleges. Now, here now to share more, we are pleased to be joined by the Executive Director of the Kaplan Education Foundation, Nolvia Delgado. And Nolvia, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
You know, when we talk about going to college, it sometimes can be such a tremendous journey for anybody to really take that step. But then when we talk about people in Black and brown communities, there is this disparity. There's a lot of challenges, but I know the Kaplan is doing a great job in terms of helping people to really get there and not just get there, but really succeed.
I think you make an excellent point. What we do is that we help high-achieving community college students not only transfer to selected four-year institutions, but also graduate. I think sometimes people forget that once you're there, you still need to graduate. So we help students with the entire transfer application process by providing leadership development, financial assistance, and then we help them after they graduate as well launch their careers.
And there are a tremendous amount of resources that you actually provide through your organization, but walk us through a little bit about the resources that are available for your prospective students.
Yeah, so I think the best way to break down the resources that we offer is in four parts. One is helping students with the pre-transfer journey. So that's helping them apply to schools, helping them with their financial aid applications, and supporting them with graduating from their community colleges. And then the next 2 years are spent focused helping the students once they get to their four-year schools, making sure that they're exposed to things like study abroad opportunities and that they are successful at their four-year schools and that they graduate. And then the fourth year is after students graduate, we work with them if they need professional development, if they need help with graduate exams and things like that.
So we talked a little bit in part, but for somebody that doesn't know about the leadership program, give us some details as to how the leadership program works, and we've also got some good success stories too. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, so the way that the leadership program works is that we want our students to be leaders in their communities, on their campuses, and we equip them with the tools. We spend a lot of time doing professional development, mentorship, and exposing them to leaders across different fields, especially leaders in their chosen fields. And as Black and Brown people, we're not often exposed to cultural capital, so we talk a lot about the importance of having that type of capital that you need in order to advance academically and advance your careers.
And Nolvia, I know that you have two great success stories that have come out recently that I know that you got many, but I know that you got two in particular right here out of the borough of the Bronx.
Yeah, so right now we have one of our students, Obed, who's graduating from Yale University, and he has a full-time job offer with Morgan Stanley, so he's ready to go. He's graduating in a few weeks now. And then we also have another student who is currently at Smith College, and she is at her first year at Smith College after attending community college in the Bronx.
And what is that like for you to actually see an opportunity to take students to another level? Because for some of them, they wouldn't have this opportunity. And to see them not just take the opportunity, but to actually be able to excel and blossom. You know, Morgan Stanley, you're talking about Yale, you're talking about, this is Ivy League, this is what some people would consider the creme de la creme.
Yeah, I think it's so empowering to see not only the impact that our program has on the lives of the students, but the way that they're able to impact those around them, share information, and the way it changes the trajectory, not only for them, but also for entire families. You know, we had a scholar who once said that because he had KEF in his life, now his kids won't need KEF. And now he's a father of two kids, and that's exactly what's happening, right? His kids won't need a program like ours because he had us in his corner to support him and open doors for him.
You know, when we look at what's going on right now with the admissions process, and we see across the United States, you know, changes with admissions policies. We know legislation has been drafted to really help to assist in this process. Give us where you feel your organization is really landing amidst all this going on.
That's a great question. And, you know, I think full transparency, the post-affirmative action world will be very challenging for selective institutions. But I like to view things with a glass half full approach. And I think that this will present an opportunity for the higher education sector to invest in community colleges and for community colleges to become a viable pipeline for selective institutions in order for them to continue offering admissions to diverse students, both economically and racially diverse students.
You know, one of the things I think that we're really speaking about is the opportunity for kids to have exposure. And
Yes.
exposure is so critical to a person, particularly at that collegiate level. Your thoughts on just, you know, Kaplan and the opportunity to provide exposure and what that does in the trajectory of a life of a student?
I think exposure goes beyond their life as students, and it goes beyond that and also impacts their professional life and the choices that they make. I think once you expose students to different opportunities and you equip them with the tools that they need, that will translate into the professional world as well. And it's so important, you know, just by exposing a student to the importance of something like as simple as a thank you note after you meet with someone, how far something like that can go.
And so for people who need more information in terms of the leadership program and things of that nature, what is the criteria for a student to be able to enter into that program?
That's a great question. Our applications are currently open. So we're recruiting students from community colleges in the 5 boroughs, New Jersey, and Westchester. And the criteria students have to identify as Black, Latinx, or Native American. They need to have a 3.5 GPA, and they need to show leadership potential either in their community, their personal lives, on campus. And they also need to graduate either December 2023 or May 2024.
Pretty interesting and a pretty exciting time. And for yourself, I know the application process is about to begin, but talk to us about the amount of applications you received.
So we receive a lot of applications across the boroughs. But what I would like to say, I would like to stress the importance of people applying. We take the time to review each application individually. We look at the student holistically. You don't have to have it all figured out. I was a student who didn't think this program was for me when I applied over 14 years ago, and here I am today. So what I would say is, if you think that you want to transfer, if you are interested in having people coach you and support you and push you to the finish line, just give yourself the chance, apply, and don't close the door on yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing what the opportunities can be with one opportunity, one door that just opens to be able to take a program like yourself and be a part of it can just change the trajectory of somebody's life. I talked about that earlier, but it's so true. And so for final tips for people who are out there right now, what do you want them to know?
I just want them to show up. Show up. If there's an opportunity at your school, if there's an opportunity in your community, this opportunity, you might think it's a good fit for you, just show up and go for it and put your best foot forward. There's a lot of people that are rooting for us, and we just need to show up.
Right. Nolvia, we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much for being with us. And she is the executive director of the Kaplan Educational Foundation. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Well, if you do want more information about the program as we spoke about, you can visit the website at kaplanedfoundation.org and then follow them on Instagram and Twitter at KaplanEdFDN. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
And welcome back. The workplace environment. It plays a crucial role in shaping the health and well-being of its employees, but in today's fast-paced corporate environment, striking the right balance between work and personal life has become increasingly important. A well-balanced work-life integration not only benefits employees, but also contributes to the success of businesses. Joining us again to tell us more was the Assistant Professor of Organizational Behavioral at the Gabelli School of Business and Fordham University, Dr. Ayse Yemiscigil. Let's try to say that 3 times. Yemiscigil. Did I get it right the 3rd time?
Yes, you did.
You know, I get it wrong every time, but Lord, I am glad to have you back, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And, it's important to think about this, that many Americans right now are really struggling to really get back to work. And what people tout is the fact that I just don't feel that wholeness, that wellness in the workplace. But the importance of wellness in the workplace, from your perspective, how important is it for a person to feel well at work?
Mm-hmm. We are only beginning to realize the importance of well-being in the workplace. But what we discover in research is that most often well-being and productivity, which is usually what we care about in the workplaces, they go hand in hand, right? When a person is feeling good, is not stressed, not burned out, find a meaning and purpose in their job, they're also giving the best that they can to their work. They're engaged, they're committed to their organizations. Of course, there may be some points where these things don't go hand in hand, right? Maybe a person may be well, but not productive. But workplaces can do a better job at identifying those moments where people can be well at the same time as they're showing high performance.
And we have what's called poor workplace. There's a poor workplace culture and poor workplace well-being. How do you define that, and what are some of the causes, if you will, for that, for that poor place?
We tend to talk a little bit about a toxic workplace culture, which we know has been very influential in driving people to resign, to quit their jobs during the pandemic. There's data showing that the main reason why people left their jobs was not really pay, but it was a toxic workplace culture. And this is a culture where employees don't feel valued and recognized for their work, but also for their humanity, where managers are having unrealistic, unreasonable expectations from employees. They are not clear in their demands, and they are not generous in their acknowledgements. It's not a psychologically safe place where employees can be who they are and share and express their values and beliefs. This is how we think about a toxic workplace culture.
Well, when you have a toxic workplace culture, the hope is that leadership would somewhere step in, take charge. So many times that's not the case. We don't see leadership rise because sometimes they're part of the culture or they're just oblivious to the culture. But what role can leadership play in dealing with this toxic culture?
Leadership has huge responsibility. The more that leaders are modeling the kind of behaviors that are conducive for well-being, the easier it is for other people in the organization to also engage in those kind of behaviors. So if a manager is sending emails and making calls outside of work hours, it would be more difficult for an employee to set those kind of boundaries for themselves, right? So that's one. But managers can also pay attention to understanding and picking up cues about burnout and stress, who is trying to build an emotional intelligence to understand when employees are overworked, when they need rest, because adequate rest is a human right, right? But leaders usually, or managers in workplaces, don't pay attention to when is it time to stop working. So these are some of the first things that come to mind, but there's more, definitely.
Yeah, and Dr. Ayse, I think when we talk about looking at the workplace, one of the things that leaders have to be on guard for is burnout, because you can work an employee to death, or they can just be burnt out by the toxicity of the workplace. What do you do as a leader to try to strengthen your team, to encourage them to get a balance, and also not just get a balance, but how do I avoid that burnout? What can I do as a leader to help my team to say, listen, you know what? I value, we're not gonna have you burnt out like this.
Yes, we have strong data showing that stress and burnout is at an all-time high since the past 5 years, and definitely accelerated by the pandemic. So this is a huge topic for leaders to be mindful of. And usually, of course, healthy boundaries is important. Determining the right amount of work hours so that people can have adequate rest is important. But we also see in research that equally, and if not more, not necessarily the work hours, but how people perceive and how people experience those work hours is also crucial. If they feel like working hard was an unfair demand from their employers, if they feel like even though when people are working longer hours, they don't feel supported by their managers or their colleagues, right? So these kind of the quality of overwork also matters. So leaders have to be paying attention to not only the number of hours, but also how those hours are experienced by the workers.
I want to take the time for a moment and explore some numbers and some research that you did, basically helping in the area of when people find purpose in life, and you've got some statistics, when people find purpose in life, they seem to flourish better.
Yes, so purpose is a crucial aspect of a good life. I have been personally very interested in this topic for a while, and because it is different, when we think about well-being, we usually think about feeling good in the moment, right? Positive feelings, but finding meaning and purpose in our activities, even when they may not necessarily feel good, is also critical. It gives us a reason to live. And it motivates people to live a good life, right? That's why having a purpose, having goals that give meaning and direction to our lives can be an important factor for flourishing.
And so you had a study and you had an opportunity to get some real information. Before we go, tell us a little bit about the study, the information, and the research that you did, and what were your takeaways?
Yeah, so that in that study, we looked at the relationship between having a purpose in life and physical activity, exercise behaviors. I was very curious about understanding this potentially strong pull that having a purpose has on how we live our lives, right? How likely we are to engage in health promoting behaviors. So what we found is that this was a middle-aged and older adult population that were surveyed over tens of years apart. And those who had a higher sense of purpose in life at the baseline were more likely to increase their physical activity behaviors in the long run. But we also found that we looked at the other way around as well. We found that those who had strong and well-established exercise routines were increasing their sense of purpose over time. Which was precious because at older ages, sense of purpose tends to decline. So those who could have these kind of healthy habits for exercise, they could not only maintain, but sometimes even increase their sense of purpose in life in older ages.
Yeah. Dr. Ayse Yemiscigil, we thank you so much for being with us and sharing, because I think it's important for us to really take a look at where we are with so many people coming out of COVID, trying to find their place and trying to find their balance. And some really have a hesitancy to return to work. And it's also because, you got a problem with workplace culture. And at the same time, also, as you said, people who don't have purpose in life will sometimes also find themselves on the other side of the spectrum. But thank you for some much needed information, and certainly glad that we could be able to pass it on to the public. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me again. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, glad to have you. Now listen, if you want more information, you can visit our website at AyseYemiscigil.com. Don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
I want you to know I am excited about this next segment because the weather is warming up. Yes, the summer days are ahead, and many of us, we've got that eye on that next vacation getaway. But before we go, you gotta set yourself up for success with the perfect pieces to create your vacation wardrobe. Joining us now and sharing more help and giving us some style our next vacation, gonna provide us some tips on how to pack like a pro is lifestyle expert Bibbo, Herr. And Christine, good to have you.
Hi, Daren. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am glad to have you. And yes, I am eyeing the next vacation. And I do have a problem because when I talk about my vacation and getting myself together, packing is a problem. Overpacking,
Yes.
The whole 9 yards. But to help us, because that's one of the most critical things, because you can't have a good vacation if you don't have good luggage and good clothes and all that. So talk to me about how do I pack effectively for this?
Yes, well, pre-planning for your vacation is key so that when you get to your destination, there's no guesswork. You want to look for colors that are interchangeable, styles that are multi-purpose, and pieces that you can mix and match to make your vacation wardrobe work for you. So I went to Tommy Bahama to find easy care, easy wear pieces that makes getting dressed and packing stress-free.
So when we talk about being stress-free, it is stress to try to go in your luggage and say, how do I make this work? I got to make this work. Or you know, you got time out at the beach and then now you have to go to an event or something of that nature. So are there any tips that you can share with us in terms of like, how do I bridge that gap? And maybe what should I be putting in my bag to kind of like get me through?
Yes, exactly. So you want to start with a color story and then see how many ways that you could play around and wear each item. So if you look at our grid, you can see we have a mix of complementary colors, prints, and solids that all work together that you could layer and swap to create endless outfit options. So not only are Tommy Bahama's swimsuits reversible, we love their tropical prints and all their colors, but their tankinis can work as a top with shorts paired going from pool to party or a walk around town. It works seamlessly anywhere. And then their rash guards, you'll see, you could wear that as a lightweight jacket. You just zip it up, and that's one less item you have to carry a jacket if you use the rash guard. I also love bringing activewear, so this skirt is comfy and cute, whether you're playing or you're just watching from the sidelines. And it comes in a performance fabric, which means it has SPF built in. It's lightweight, it's wrinkle-free, and you can wash and wear it, and it dries so fast, so you could do that multiple times throughout your trip. Another great tip, I like to say borrow it from the boys. I sometimes snag my husband's button down and I belt it as a shirt dress, depending on how big or small it is. And then you can tie it up too over a bikini top like I did here with a wide leg pant. It's laid back, vacation cool, and it really works. But now this cover up that I'm wearing, it has a pop of pink. It looks so chic on the beach, and it goes from beach to barbecue to a night out all in one day. It is a major multitasker. So if you look at the dress that I'm wearing, this is another tip. You can wear a piece on the plane that you can then wear again later when you get to your destination. So this helps me look pulled together on the plane, and it's got that wrinkle-free fabric, so I don't have to worry about that, and I could wash and wear it as many times as I want on my trip.
Well, I'm not trying to get in your house, but I like the fact that you were able to steal your husband's, shirt. It looked really good. I don't know how it went over with him, but it looked good. But it's a nice opportunity to put something together there using your husband's shirt.
Definitely, yes. I know. I snagged it from him.
Well, listen, I also got another question for you because, listen, I have this issue all the time because I don't like to check a bag, but I find myself having to check a bag simply because my clothes don't fit. So what do I do? What do I do? Is there a simple carry-on formula for either men, women that can really get us through to make sure that I'm maximizing what I can put on in my carry-on by way of clothes, and by the time I get off this plane, I am not going to baggage claim?
Yes, well, this will work for the guys and the girls and the women, everybody. So packing should be fuss-free, and planning is important. So believe it or not, everything from our grid does fit in our carry-on. So I do that by using packing cubes. I don't know if you've tried them before, but packing cubes are great to separate things. They organize your items, and they save space. And then when you're on your way back, you could put your wet clothes or dirty laundry or anything you want to keep separate in here also. So that really keeps everything compact. And then you want to get creative with rolling and stuffing. So you could see I put my bikini and my sneakers. You could put socks or small items in your shoes to take up every ounce of space. And then a white t-shirt. You could always wear a white t-shirt. They look crisp and clean with everything. Take them and just tuck them in the corners there. Tuck anything in where you find space. Now, when it comes to accessories, you want to not overdo it. Just take what you need. So pick one shoe that could get wet, like a flip-flop, a strappy sandal or shoe or something that works, for everything day to night, a sneaker so you could stay active or walk in, and sunglasses are great because they up the ante of your look. They help protect your eyes from the sun, and these are from Maui Gym, so they block out 100% of UVA and UVB rays, so we love that. And a hat, too. Hats are great for guys or women. You can elevate your look, block yourself from the sun, and then tuck that foldable hat into a tote, and then leave a little extra tote, because you're going to carry this on the plane. Leave some space in case you go shopping on your trip. You could bring those treats home with you, too.
You know, I'm gonna live vicariously through you, because I already see this isn't working for me. I can see, literally, I can see it. But when I talk about, oh my God, the packing, I know I'm gonna mess it up. But I think I've got some helpful tips. I'm gonna have to go home and watch my own video on this one here, and make sure I get the tips right to be able to do it. What is the biggest challenge do you think that people face during a time like this?
I really do think it is. You have to take advantage of the rolling, the stuffing, being compact, and then don't be afraid to leave a few pieces home. But also, one more tip: I don't think your pillow counts as a personal item. So if you have an empty pillowcase, you could stuff a sweatsuit in there, rest your head on the plane, and then you're adding a few more items in there. But don't tell anyone I told you so.
You know, somebody just put me onto that the other day. Now I heard this for the second time. I won't put your name in it. Yes, I'll use the first person I got it from. I won't get you in trouble. You know, we're here. But I heard it, and I never thought about that. But it's actually an opportunity to actually get some more stuff on the plane, in addition to carry on. At the same time, make a more comfortable pillow for yourself. So exactly, it is. But honestly, anything that you would say are real serious trends that we should be paying attention to before we go?
I think what works best for me is making the most out of the color story and the prints and the solids. So if it works for you and you have your wardrobe you're choosing from at home, play around with how you can layer and swap and style something within like 5 or 6 pieces. I think we have a total of 10 pieces total, and we can make multiple outfits that way. So it's okay to rewear certain pieces, but you just want to get creative how you put them together, and then it makes it look like a new outfit each time you wear it.
I like how you talk. That's exactly. Christine, it's been great having you. Thank you for these tips, and certainly, hopefully, people's summers will be a whole lot better. I've gained a lot out of this segment already. Thanks much.
Thank you. You can go to TommyBahama.com and shop some more.
All righty. Yes, and if you want more information, that's what you got to do. You got to visit the website at TommyBahama.com, and there you can find out there, and then you can also get those packing tips. And please don't be like me, because you know, I just messed it up. All right, well, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Oh, how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Born and raised in the Bronx, our next guest decided he wanted a change of direction in his life. And after graduating high school, he immediately enrolls into the New York Restaurant School. And over the next 15 years, he worked as a private chef and has run some of the largest Meals on Wheels programs in New York. And guess what? He's giving back to the community as well. Joining us now and sharing more, we've got the executive chef, or I should say the executive sous chef at Compass Group Morrison Senior Living, Levar Fulmore. I got to get it right, man.
That's all right, man. Thanks,
First of all, good to have you, man.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and great work that you're doing. I mean, you're over at Compass Point, and I should say Compass Group. And in addition to being a Compass Group, you know, you're just this executive chef that's making a huge difference. Talk to me, because, as I said in the lead, you know, here you were, and you had this change of direction in your life where you wanted to become a chef, but it wasn't without some bumps in the road.
Yeah, growing up in the South Bronx, in the High Bridge section of the Bronx, you know, can be a pretty rough community. And when I enrolled in college, I just, light switch kind of switched on for me. And I took it from there. I just went full steam ahead. But I also saw some opportunities to be able to give back to the community and saw some areas of food insecurity and some other things that needed to be addressed. And I felt like I had the power to make a direct impact, by just, calling some friends and saying, hey, let's go hand out sandwiches, or let's go, make some food and just give back.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, as a chef, obviously, part of what you do is really preparing food, right? Making food. But then here you go on the distribution. But I think when you work so closely to it, I guess there's a sense on your part of what we talk about, the food insecurity that goes on right around the city.
Right. And it, it doesn't take a lot to help out. We waste an amazing amount of food just in our own personal lives and our own homes daily. To repurpose and come up with projects to get people involved in your community where we can repurpose food and give it out to those who may not know where their next meal is coming from, and we can address some of those needs and impact these communities directly, I think is meaningful.
And coming up on Mother's Day weekend, you got something special going on?
Yeah, for Thanksgiving, we had a chance to be out in Harlem on 125th Street on Lenox Avenue, right on the side of Whole Foods, and we set up some tables. I called some chef friends and I said, hey guys, I need some Thanksgiving food, and we had Thanksgiving right there for about 4 or 5 hours, and we have live music playing, and so we're going to do the same thing again for Mother's Day. We're going to be out there at 125th Street and Lenox Avenue. We're going to have a Mother's Day brunch. I mean, we're going to have some really good food, and we're going to have some live music. I have a full band coming out there. I have someone hosting, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good time.
Protect the block. That's my block. I being in Harlem, Rice High School right there, 120. Yeah. See, and so to see something like that in the community is really powerful.
Yeah.
But for yourself, what's it like for you being the first? Not the first, but being amongst the first to really take the bull by the horns and say, listen, in this particular area, I can do this and I can do this and make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had the motto: if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I felt like I can do more. You look on social media, there's just a lot of, you just kind of see people just making food and then that's it. But where's that food going? Is it impacting anybody? Do we still have people who are we walking past people on 125th Street that are hungry? And that's what really stuck out to me, because I go to that area quite frequently, and I just saw some need that I could address directly. Yeah. So that's what motivated us to do what we do.
So you're an executive sous chef. So if somebody who's not familiar says, okay, I know about executive chef, maybe but what's the executive sous chef?
So, an executive chef executive sous chef is more of a managerial role. They don't do as much cooking as a sous chef. A sous chef
so you the
may
Gordon
have...
Ramsay is what you're trying to say. You tell them, get your life, get in order.
Not quite, but I do a lot more managing than cooking. And in the facility that I work at in Westchester County, we have a number of buildings, and we run a number of different programs. We have a rehab building, we have assisted living, and we also have a long-term care facility. So I oversee all of those 3 buildings as far as food preparation, and I answer to my director, my dining services director. But as far as food related, that's what I oversee. So executive chef or executive sous chef does more managing than cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on in your life. You got the chef. You're giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Not only you're doing that, you're also doing a little work behind the scenes doing what we do here, huh?
Yeah. I've been a participant with BronxNet from years. I came up around David Jenkins.
Yeah.
Very good friend of mine, and had the opportunity to work with him for some time, and was introduced to Max. So always stayed close, and I was able to take some classes here as far as access producer, and then looking forward to some other production classes you have coming up. So yeah, really excited, man.
Yeah,
really excited.
Glad to have you. What advice do you give somebody? Because you've made the turn,
yeah,
and you made it successfully, not without bumps, right?
Yeah.
But you've been able to kind of like find your purpose.
Yeah.
So what advice do you give somebody who may be in that bumpy phase right now? What worked for you that maybe you can pass on?
I've been just really thinking as far as thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we try to, you know, do what other people do, but there's always another outlet. There's always a way we can make an impact. I don't have to impact the way another chef is, but can I kind of, you know, think outside the box and do something a little more creative that can address some need? And I think if you think like that as a young person or as a chef that's coming up, that'll go a long way. That'll go a long way.
Yeah. So after Mother's Day, what comes next?
After Mother's Day, I'll be in the kitchen at Monroe College. I'm an adjunct professor there. So I help run the dining lab throughout the week, which is a restaurant at Monroe College in New Rochelle. So I'll be there. And then we try to do a community event once a month. So after Mother's Day, we'll probably have a community cookout for 4th of July. Probably do something for Father's Day in June. So we just want to keep it going. I mean, the live music, it turns into like a really good time, man. So it's we want to keep it going. We want to keep those community engagements going on a consistent basis.
You know, I joked earlier about Gordon Ramsay, but you know, the fact is that, you know, more people have become aware. Gordon Ramsay, Top Chef, we see these shows on television, and it's kind of made culinary a more attractive career. Do you find that more and more people are coming through your doors, like at Monroe College, and seeking a career in this field? Because it does get the media attention, and I think with more exposure, people say, hey, you know what, I might be able to do this.
Yeah, it is. Social media has helped a large part to where more people are being exposed to the culinary field, and more younger people are becoming more engaged with food, and they're open to more experiences. I definitely encourage getting that education as far as food service is concerned, because what we learn in school, in class, in the kitchen, you don't really get that, you know, through watching Instagram or watching something on YouTube. So it's good to go to school and get that education as well.
Yeah. You're a minister as well, and
yes.
So you're literally about feeding people the gospel and feeding people in real life. And so how does that feel for you, being able to do it on both ends?
I do the same thing at church. I'm responsible for community outreach, so I work hand in hand with those who are responsible for like the food pantry. We have a small food pantry at our church, so anybody in the community that you know we made aware that may be in need. We had a family a few blocks down from our church, and they had a really bad fire, and we made ourselves available to them. You know, as far as any assistance they needed with food. We do the same thing. We do back to school events. We had out book bags, school supplies at the end of the summer, at the beginning of the school year, and we just make ourselves available as far as any kind of assistance, food related. We do that, frequently.
Yeah.
Very frequently.
Well, Levar, good to have you, man. Thank you so
Darren.
much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And people have to come out Mother's Day and check that out.
Yes,
man.
we'll be out there at 1 p.m.
All right. Want to make sure. Get out to the block, 125th Street, right there by Whole Foods, Lenox Avenue. You can catch Levar about 1 o'clock this Saturday of Mother's Day. That is May 13th. And you can be a part of that giving community. All right. For more information, you can follow him on Instagram at Chef Levar. And there you can see the latest going-ons. Well, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67. If you're on Verizon Fios, that's Channel 2133, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open on Friday with my girl, Rena Valentine. And that about wraps it up for this episode of Open. I am Daren Jaime telling you, make sure to keep this channel wide open. We say take care. God bless.